Oh. Hi, so today's video is on studying and test taking tips. So recently I've been studying for my Colorado real estate exam, and it has been a while. So I started my classes back in March, and due to COVID-19, my test was scheduled for early April, and then late April, then May, now June. So I will be taking my test soon, and now that I am kind of finishing up my studying, I would like to share all my tips of everything that I've learned so far. So when you're studying, you want to make sure that you're not trying to learn in a way that's not your learning style. Make sure that you are staying comfortable in your comfort zone and how you will learn. Don't try to learn someone else's ways, because when you're taking the test, it's just you and yourself in your head. So keep your don't change who you are related to you. Sometimes I curse, or I'll sing a song, or make it something that is easy to remember for me. Okay, so if someone dies and they don't have a will, and the government takes that property, that's called is cheat. And the way I learned it and remember it is the government, I know it's cheat is a government power, so what is it? They're cheating their way into taking this house because they didn't own it. That's how I remember it, but that's not how everyone else remembers it. So I had to learn for me. Make sure that you have the willpower to study. When you study, you have to have a focused mind. So in order to do that, I was reading on psychological tips and willpower tips, and it was saying feed yourself for the success that you want. So if you know that you have a big test to study for, make sure you're eating right and staying healthy, so that way your brain is staying functional and working right without having to worry about hunger pains or something else that will distract you from actually studying. When you're studying and trying to learn something, try to summarize it in your own words, where it's the shortest amount of words or shortest thing to remember possible. That way you don't have too much to remember. You're not trying to remember a paragraph. It's so much easier to remember a phrase or what something reminds you of, instead of just trying to remember the whole definition. Like the definition of, I don't know, just something. Just try to summarize it as short as possible, so that way you can, remember it easy. When you're studying, make sure you have time to study. Don't try to study where you're going to be distracted and you're not focusing. Try to study where you can eliminate distractions. You're in control of your environment, and you can try to time block how long you want to study. Time yourself for how long you want to spend in a certain area, or how long it's going to take you to do a certain thing, so that way your brain is now working against the clock instead of working against the answers. A lot of procrastination comes from not having a designated time or set measurement of time, so you push it off until the last minute. So if you time yourself, your brain now has something to work toward instead of just working. When you're studying, read out loud. It helps remember it better, and then you can pretend like you're teaching the class, or read with a study buddy, read to someone. And if you're alone, get like a figment or a picture or something and read to it, because then you're explaining it, or you're learning it as you're quote unquote explaining it to somebody else. So now you're putting it in easier terms, which brings back to keep it as short as possible and don't change who you are. Use your failure as a guide. And in the sense of, if you have practice tests, or you know that there's an area that you fall behind in, use that to lead the way. For my Colorado exam, I'm not too good with remembering all the laws. So remembering all the laws are hard for me because Colorado has their own laws versus the rest of America. So I try to study in those areas based off of the ones I got wrong. So I'll say, okay, last time I thought it was this, but it's not this, simply because this is the answer, and explain why this is the answer. So another tip would be to explain why each answer is the answer to yourself. And if you can understand it where you feel like you can teach it to someone else, then you have that knowledge.
And be sure to get inside those cheeks when you shower.
Sweaty butt crack will mess up testing.
Definitely.
When you're taking practice tests, or if you have practice tests, try to write down columns of, or write down the patterns of how many times the answer was a certain letter or a certain choice, so that way you can know when taking the real test the type of patterns there are. So if you don't know the answer, you know that 70% of the answers on the test are going to be B, so more than likely it's B. So try to do it that way. If you have long questions, so a test taking tip would be, if you have long questions or scenarios you're trying to get through, read the question first, so that way you're not spending most of your time trying to understand the scenario. If you read the question first, you can kind of answer it as you're going through the scenario. Or if you read the answer choices first, you'll see, oh, that's definitely not the answer, because right here in the scenario it clearly states otherwise. A test taking tip: when in doubt, choose the longest answer, the one that looks the smartest, the one that has the most keywords. Look for something that says, I'm the answer. Most tests, they try to trip you up with answers that are similar, but they're not the right answer. So look for keywords and things that scream answer, and that directly answers the question, not a what if answer. So this could be the answer if this was the situation, but in the question they gave you the situation, so keep it with what is exactly the question. Slow down, take your time, and breathe. There's a lot of times I miss a question or an answer because I read it too fast, or I tried to answer too fast, or I wasn't paying attention to what I was clicking. So make sure you go back over each answer 3 times, go over each question 3 times, so you know, like, that's the answer, because that's the question. Make sure you're not skipping the word not or except or however they try to get you on the test, because it's not designed for you to win. Don't overthink answers on your test. Just keep simplicity. While taking a test, use your scratch paper to write down your answers, yet in the yes, no, or maybe column on if you feel like you got that question correct. At the end of your test, go through your maybes and dissect them into yeses and nos, and then go through your nos and verify that you just don't know that answer. And then total up how many that is versus how many questions it is, and then you'll see like your estimated grade, and then you can choose to, well, let me switch this answer or not, because yeah. And that's all I have for now. Please come back, like, subscribe, and share. Hope you pass. If you're reading this for if you're watching this for advice, and if you're watching this for pleasure. So